The place has taken a reputational hit. There is zero question about it. There were a lot of bad actors. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. So we had to fix it and rebuild public trust. One of the ways to do it is these cases of significant public interest that matter.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today's Thursday. It is October the 30th, the day before Halloween, and we have a very exciting, very interesting, very revealing show for you this morning. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, hello, my name is Kyle Seraphin. I used to be an FBI agent. I was a paramedic. I worked in the Air Force. I have spent over a decade of my time working on the public service end of things. I previously worked in some other places. I worked in private industry. I was in sales, worked in media sales. I worked for Warner Brothers as a movie studio guy. I've got an interesting backstory in life, and I'm not your typical former FBI agent, I would say. I used to have a fun experience when I would go out and meet regular, real people who would say, Kyle, you're not what I expected when I met somebody from the FBI. And I said, yeah, that's okay, because feds, they're a bunch of nerds. And then I would laugh, and then they would laugh, and then the person that was with me would look at their shoes awkwardly. That was just the way it went. I can't help it. That's the way I'm built. I have a little bit of a sense of humor that is not common necessarily in people who've worked in law enforcement, and maybe it's because I worked as a paramedic as well. I don't know. I've seen the darker side of life. Today is not going to be one of those days, but we are going to do a look into the darkness and reveal a source. Now, I don't normally do that. And I don't generally claim things like journalistic privilege, and I don't generally go out there and aspire to be a journalist, but I've done some journalistic activity that nobody can deny. Some of the things that we've exposed here on this podcast and through the written form, through the social media and so on, I have gone on to cause Congress to do investigations. A lot of good it did us, by the way, none at all. But some of the stuff that we've put out in the world have made real impacts on the national news story cycle, if you will. One of the things that many people in the conservative space just take as rote knowledge at this point. The FBI spied on parents who attended school board meetings, sent counterterrorism agents, domestic terrorism investigators to go out there and look into those parents. That's true. And I helped reveal that. But that wasn't the point of what I was revealing. What I showed was that there was corruption at the top of the DOJ, that we had an attorney general at that time, Merrick Garland, who looked like he lied to Congress when he said that he would not use counterterrorism resources, Patriot Act tools, and so on to go after these parents. But it is considered to be standard fare now that if you listen to your Republican representatives in Congress, the first thing that they will drop when they talk about FBI malfeasance and criminal activity and the things that they're so concerned about, the things that they're fighting for, they talk about how parents at school boards were spied upon. That was one of my protected disclosures. It's one of the reasons why I do not work at the FBI anymore. I also showed that they went after Catholics. I did this in January of 2023, beginning of February of 2023, wrote the story that ended up getting a man removed from his job, another source of mine, inside the Bureau. And that turns out to be the standard course, the regular fare, that when the FBI is exposed, it doesn't matter whether it's Chris Wray or Jim Comey or Robert Mueller or whether it's Kash Patel in charge, Paula Bate when he was the acting director. It doesn't matter. If you experience or expose, if you experience the momentary instinct that you should share government malfeasance with the people who pay for that government, then the FBI's instinct immediately, their knee-jerk reaction is to go and attack that person. So we found out yesterday. I found out, and now you found out. Some of you are here because you found out. The FBI opened up a leak investigation to find out who funneled me information about Kash Patel's jet-setting trip up to State College, PA. Now, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. In the grand scheme of things, the amount of money we're talking about is not that much. Our government is woefully, disrespectful with the amount of money that they spend on things. But it is a really awful look in the middle of a government shutdown to have a guy who claimed that we should shut down the government jet, taking the government jet for personal travel to go check out what his girlfriend's doing and singing at some wrestling event. And then following her home, or maybe taking her home on that private jet that we all have to pay for. It's a really ugly look when air traffic controllers are controlling that aircraft and they're not getting paid. And they're worried about whether or not they can feed their family or make their mortgage payment. And should they? Should they be worried about that? Probably not. They should be more financially solvent. But they do work and they do expect to get paid for that work. And that is a pretty reasonable thing to do. People ask, why are you so fixated on this stuff? There's a couple of reasons. Number one, I really hate hypocrisy. I despise it. It is an ongoing theme here that I will tell you about hypocrisy whenever it pops up. And it doesn't matter whether it's Gavin Newsom sitting at French Laundry during COVID, Nancy Pelosi getting her hair blown out, or whether it's people inside my former agency using our money in a way that is disrespectful to us. I have a massive problem with hypocrisy. I don't like it. I don't like big government. I don't like big government spending our cash without our permission. So it's SNAP benefits, it's federal salaries, it's agencies that shouldn't exist. All of these things are problematic for me, and I'm going to continue to do it. And the second thing is, Kash Patel has decided to target me personally. Me, this guy, sitting in this little room in a little spot outside of Austin, Texas, broadcasting from the home studio that we rent because I had to sell my house when I used to work for the FBI. And his girlfriend, who he went to go see, has sued me for $5 million using the lawyers from his legal foundation. I'm expecting she doesn't pay any money for it. And they're suing me for quote unquote defamation on things that were said long before I ever started talking about it because people have been saying it since February and they sued me in August. So I have a little personal stake in this and I will acknowledge my personal bias right up front. But shouldn't you also be pissed that somebody who says that the government shouldn't be abusing things and that there are things called government gangsters writes an entire book about it, and then you went and bought that book and you were like, hell yeah, this guy's going to go clean up the mess. And then the first thing he does is like, well, there's a government shutdown for others, but not for me. I will be flying and drinking champagne and eating snow cones in the back of this private jet that you all paid for because I deserve it. That's an easy way to get a little bit frustrated. If you guys had gotten Epstein files, if you felt like people who were the quote unquote deep state actors, the bad people out there that were in our government that were doing things, if they had gone out there and gotten arrested right away, or if they had started building cases and we started seeing indictments, if you started seeing like Obamas and Clintons and all the people that he promised were going to go to jail, if they started going to jail, if they started going to prison and having to face legal process, you guys would be okay with that, I think. So far, we've got Jim Comey, we got Letitia James for mortgage fraud, and we've got John Bolton, who used to work for Trump. Those are the big players, right? Oh, they got to start with the small fish. No, they don't. This is the best you're going to get, folks. We're going to talk today about Arctic frost as well, because that's super instrumental in understanding why this agency, this FBI, this Hoover building that we were told was going to be closed on day one. I knew that was hyperbolic. I don't take him at any other word. But the idea that you would shut down what goes on at the FBI headquarters, that's the piece that should be really discussed. And so I'm going to go through a lot of the information that you're not going to understand unless you are an former FBI employee. We're going to talk about what Arctic frost means, the BS outrage that we're seeing from people on the Republican side of the coin, who some of whom were totally okay with FISA and 702 FISA spying on Americans and incidental collection of your calls, your toll records, your content, and so on that was going out across the wires. And now they're super outraged because the speech and debate clause and you've crossed over the line. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to show you, my argument is that Arctic frost is an indicator on why we shouldn't have an FBI at this point. Because Arctic frost was a legally predicated investigation that was signed off on by everybody. And that power still exists in this DOJ and in that DOJ. And I'm going to be real clear. The DOJ is not all that different because most of the people who work in any of the DOJs and the FBI are the same people that worked there previously under the former regime. And they'd be willing to do the same thing to you today. How's that sound? We're going to do that. Was that about a 10-minute open? Let's do it. Okay. Before we get started, I'm going to pay some bills with a sponsor. This is a sponsor I'm excited about because I think that they make a really great product. It's covepure.com/KYLE. Cove Pure. How much have you guys thought about what's in your drinking water? Do you care about what's in your tap water? I actually did not at all until I married my wife. That's my wife's department. I've kind of done a 180 on it. Number one, because we moved to a place where there's a lot of sulfur and the water stinks. It actually smells bad, which is not great. And then additionally, I used to live at Kirtland Air Force Base. And I found out that there was all kinds of crazy stuff like arsenic and pesticides and chemicals, and that the military let some fuel tanks leak into the mountain, and we got all kinds of gross water when I was in the active duty service. So that's not amazing. If you guys want something that's pretty cool, that's going to be able to do excellent filtration, it's really easy. There's no plumbing. All you do is you plug it in. It takes about 15 minutes to set up, and all you do is push buttons. I've done other water purification setups, and they actually are a bummer. This one is sitting up for my kids. It sits up on their countertop. These are not cheap units, but they're effective units. They also last way longer than like your Brita filters and some of these other cheapy stuff. Okay, they can last you 6 months to 24 months, depending on which filters you're using. They've got a 4-stage process. If you guys don't want all kinds of chemicides, if you don't want the stuff that's turning the frogs gay that you hear Alex Jones talk about, getting into your drinking water, 99.9% of impurities will be filtered out with these Cove Pure products. They sit on your shelf. You push a button. It makes a little ding. You can get hot water. You can get lukewarm water. You can get steaming hot for making a cup of tea or instant coffee, which is really cool. And I use that fairly frequently, sneak it away from my kids. It's easy to fill up. It's easy to maintain. It looks nice. It's got all kinds of functionality, and it's not the most expensive water filter out there. I've paid more for other ones, for whatever it's worth. If you guys are interested in doing that, you want to get fluoride and all the other junk that's out of your water that changes the taste, that's the biggest thing you'll notice. Pretty great. But on top of all that, it's actually going to be good for your health. So look into Cove Pure. If you guys do not have filtration right now, you can get icy cold water. You can get super hot water. You can get lukewarm water. I'm just answering questions in the chat right now. CovePure.com/KYLE. There's a link in the show description. You'll save $200 when you guys use that link. And let's get it done. If you guys are not getting pure water, you'll notice a big upgrade. It'll make everything taste better. Let's get into today's program. I will be doing a reveal very soon. Now, we're not going to totally bury the lead here, but I am going to make this a little bit longer than you guys are probably excited about, because there's a bunch of stories that I don't want to miss. And we've talked more about this this week than I have about some of the other stuff. So let's go through a list of things that I think are important, and I'm going to just hit them off the top of my head. The first one here is a Department of Defense step to get rid of more civilian employees when necessary. I've been watching a handful of these stories, and I didn't cover them over the last couple of days, so let's do it now. It's one of the upsides of a government shutdown. You guys know we're 30 days into a government shutdown. There's lots of crying and wailing and gnashing of teeth, and at the end of this week, we may actually see SNAP benefits not fill up on the card, so people won't be getting them at the end of the day tomorrow. I don't know if they like preload them on the 31st, if the first falls on a weekend, or if they still hit it on the weekend or whatever, but we're going to have a SNAP shutdown. And that's making people very concerned. There are government employees not getting paid. One of the upsides is you have some interesting flexibility to go out there and drop civilian employees. It usually is very hard to get rid of civilian employees inside government agencies, unless you happen to be a whistleblower. Then it's super easy, by the way. They pull out all the stops. Ask me how I know. The day before the government shutdown this month, senior Pentagon official signed a memo that could make it easier for the Defense Department to fire employees. This is coming from NBC News. In the September 30th memo called Separation of Employees with Unacceptable Performance. You hear the title, Unacceptable Performance. That actually should be really relevant. It outlines new guidelines directing supervisors and human resources to act with speed and conviction to facilitate separating poor performing employees from the Defense Department. Now, that's easy for them to do and abuse. And yet, I actually do think this is a necessary thing, because federal employees are famously hard to get rid of. They almost always have this like entitlement complex to the point where they may not be doing any of their work, and you still have to beg them to it. You have to thank them when they actually do a piece of their work, and they'll sit there for 20, 30, 40 years, and then they'll have a big retirement celebration where everyone brings lunch, and nobody likes them. In the FBI, we used to call agents like that 25-year mistakes or 20-year mistakes. That's a person that got hired and you couldn't fire. Now, all that person had to do was shut their mouth, hang out, and do nothing, and they would continue to get a paycheck. Or as we like to say, the golden eagle would crap in their bank account every 2 weeks. And that's the thing they most love about that job. I worked with plenty of people that were like that. They were all awful and really frustrating if you wanted to perform. Now, if you were a person that was like a hard charger and you wanted to go out there and get active and you wanted to fix problems that you saw, you actually were more likely to get fired. That was always the case. The government incentivized the wrong behavior at all times. So this is not a terrible thing. It says, quote, supervisors will work with HR to issue written statements and notice of proposed removal detailing specific performance deficiencies, consistent failures of an employee to meet quality standards, deadlines, or productivity targets. That sounds more like private sector stuff. And that's probably something that should be done. Everybody who's mad about the way the government performs has to realize the government is not attempting to operate in efficiencies. They do not care about efficiencies, not even a little bit. They have no interest in getting it done. They simply are going to continue to exist. This is the self-licking ice cream cone. It exists because it exists. And my job is that I get to show up, and my job is to get paid every 2 weeks. That's a governmental attitude. There's a reason why I say that government is the worst solution to every problem, including when it is, in fact, the only solution to the problem. A couple other stories that I wanted to hit. Anyway, it's worth knowing that we may get some cleanup at the DOD, now called the DOW, the Department of War. That's good. Some of these stories, these are two from CBS that I wanted to hit, and we're going to touch them real quickly. Hospitals are hoping for an exemption from Trump administration's new $100,000 H-1B visa fee. Quote, we cannot afford that. There's a real big problem in this country when it comes to healthcare. One of them is that we think that the government should be involved in it at all. And another one is that there are so many sick, fat, and unhealthy people that they actually require such a significant amount of healthcare that we theoretically have to go and hire nurses from like third world nations or second world developing places and bring them in. And what Trump has basically said with the H-1B system, and he probably will renege because that's what he does, he said that it's going to cost $100,000 to bring these people in. That's kind of good. When was the last time anybody who worked in the VA or anybody who has the VA, Veterans Affairs, if you've ever gone in there, you always get an Indian doctor. I don't know why that is, but all my doctors have been Indian. Some of them are hilarious. Hilarious Indian doctors that say really, really funny things, whether they mean to or not. I had a doctor look me straight in the eye after we were discussing like musculoskeletal pain. And he looks at me and he goes, okay, now we are going to talk about the diarrhea. I'm like, we're going to talk about the diarrhea? And he's like, we're talking about the diarrhea. And when we're talking about the diarrhea, we're talking about the loose stools. Okay, bro, we'll talk about loose stools. What do you want to know? And I kid you not, the guy asked me, tell me about the diarrhea. I said, every shit that I take is an emergency. This is going back like 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And he wrote that down because he was Indian. He wrote it down. Every patient reports is an emergency. We have a lot of people that are from not this country that work in our healthcare system. That can be very frustrating, especially when you're in a position where you cannot communicate with them and you're having a medical emergency. I used to work in emergency rooms. I have seen this. Nurses who speak from like whatever other dialect of English that they have that's indecipherable to those of us that are speaking at a native level, really hard to deal with. In any case, this is going to hit some of these healthcare workers. What's crazy is that chief nursing officers at health departments outside of DC are quoted here saying that we've had a continual desire to bring on 100 nurses each 3 years. That's from out of the country. They won't be able to afford it. They're very frustrated. They want more and more nurses. I get it. It says a lot about what our system looks like too. So one of the best things you can do, one of the most important things I think you can do is get your body to the point where you're not requiring healthcare. And that means you got to start step one. And we're going to talk about that thing. We're going to be talking about that. It's the same issue with SNAP. How many of these people are ridiculously unhealthy? That's our country's sort of like number one thing that we have as a problem. And I actually thought Donald Trump kind of ran on that. He ran on the Make America Healthy Again thing. That was what RFK Jr. was trying to tell people. It's like, make yourself not a consumer of healthcare. And if you had that, then you wouldn't worry whether or not the federal government was involved in it, whether healthcare benefits spiked, because you wouldn't be a partaker of that until you were old enough where, there was some like long-term palliative care and that was the end. Most people are consuming medicines every single day at such a young age. It actually blows my mind. Another one here that I wanted to point out, because when I saw this, I went, oh God, here it comes. New Mexico will be the first state to offer free universal child care next week. This is coming from CBS News as well. This story is truly wild. And if you guys don't know, I used to live in New Mexico. I lived there in the Air Force. And then I lived there when I worked in the FBI. So 2 different times, almost a decade apart. And when I was living there, what I realized is that New Mexico is a testing ground, is a petri dish for really bad Democrat policies that they will try on a state that people don't even realize is in America. You may not know that, but New Mexico is a great proving ground for Democrat policies. It will be a bellwether on whether or not they're going to move forward. They do it with gun stuff. They do it with public policy. They do it with education. They do it with spending on things like this. New Mexican parents are going to no longer have to pay for childcare starting next week, regardless of income, making the land of enchantment, aka the land of entrapment, the first state in the nation to offer free universal child care. The leftist governor there, Michelle Lujan Grisham, who is famous for grabbing a dude's junk and getting sued for it, has championed the new initiative, saying it would save families on average $12,000 a year. Well, there's no such thing as free childcare, as we all know. This is another problem. When I talk about bad spending, what you're doing is you're incentivizing women to leave the house and not raise their own children, that you're going to outsource the raising of children. And this is where leftist ideology always falls dark. Is it just me, or is it kind of distracting to have that like shadowy figure sitting here on the side? I'm going to get rid of this thing. One of the worst things that you can do is like act like women can have these things and that there's not a cost. The cost is you have to actually have women who make very little money, who are subjugated and they have to go in and they're going to be paid far less, right, than the women who are going to go to work. So you're going to subjugate some younger girl who's going to have some non-professional experience as a daycare worker. That's how you're going to have it all. Now the state's going to pay for it, which means we all get to pay for it, or everybody who lives in New Mexico is going to do it. This is a really bad idea. And you have these parents where two different people in the household work, and they say, well, it's going to save us $14,000 a year. Well, you're going to turn around and pay it out of your taxes. Now everybody has to pay that. So now where does the line get drawn? It's like a second mortgage for our house. It's amazing. All the sectors of our economy are overperforming, said Lujan Grissom. So we need more people to work. We need 67% of the women with children under the age of 5 to get out there. We need to raise your children for you, is what they say. That's essentially what I read on that. It's an important story. I didn't want to miss out on it. We will move slowly onward. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting, this is from ABC News, a story that I saw, just the headline alone was too fun not to read. You guys tell me if you see the irony in this. I did show you. Here's Gavin Newsom. Let's put Gavin Newsom on the screen. Gavin Newsom says the United States faces a quote unquote 5-alarm fire, and he warns that we will not have a country. Number one, the attitude that we will not have a country is quite amazing. Number two, the idea that a guy that presided over a state that had a horrific fire down in the Palisades and they were woefully unprepared, they could not handle the response to it, is going to talk about fires. I just feel like he's setting himself up for incredible memes. This guy clearly is going to be running for president. And so this is what we're up against. That's why all this stuff actually matters right now. I'm going to give you a little taste of what I think is going on with this thing and why Gavin Newsom is not out of line and why he's going to have support. This is a little clip from Jon Stewart the other day. He's talking about the opposite side of the country, what's going on in New York. They have an election right now where they're poised to elect a 30-something-year-old socialist, which is truly incredible. The man has no experience. He has no business running a city like New York City. Doesn't even seem to know what the powers of the mayor are. And Jon Stewart is puffing him up. I think it is a broader problem for people on the left. And to act like this is somehow all funded by Soros or that it's propped up by people who are, shady and nefarious figures, there's still an audience for it. There continues to be. I'm going to play this little clip from Jon Stewart, and I'm going to follow it up with one from a woman who's flooded my timeline of late on social media. Her name is Jennifer Welch, and she seems truly awful. She seems really, really nasty, and they're starting to call her, people are that are on the left, that she's going to be the Joe Rogan of the left. This is the second time I've heard there's going to be a Joe Rogan of the left. There was the Call Her Daddy podcast that was supposedly the same thing and gets 1/100th or 1/1000th of the audience. But sure, this is going to be the Joe Rogan of the left. First, Jon Stewart talking to Mondami and giving him glowing praise on stuff that seems like he doesn't even know who he's talking to.
I wish you all the best. Honestly, I think any New Yorker who looks at someone getting an opportunity, who's representing communities that have not been as represented, a Muslim, a young person, a progressive, a democratic socialist, there are so many different communities that are looking to you. And this, I hate to put it on you, as a bit of a Jackie Robinson moment. And I know that probably wields some weight, but man, oh man, what an exciting opportunity.
Thank you.
And I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Gross to all of that. A Jackie Robinson moment? You've got to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. Jackie Robinson had talent. I guess this guy does have a talent to go out and say things to people and make them like him. That's kind of scary. And as I said, there are people all around the country that are like, hey, you think this is a one-off? That young people are into it? I think young people are going very divergent. I think that people that are significantly younger than me are doing something that my generation didn't do. Many of your generations did not do as well. We're fragmenting at a political level at a very, very young age where people are like, I'm going hard right. I'm going to the point where I want to do radical stuff. And then the other side of it is like, I think that the government should give us everything and we're entitled to it and we shouldn't work. And we should have free childcare because somebody else should raise our kids because they're inconvenient. So I can go out there and live my dream of having a great corporate experience or whatever the hell it is. There's someone that's doing this stuff right now. So they're fragmenting. This is Jennifer Welch saying something that I think is truly nasty because it also adds to the point that there are those who would celebrate violence. And it's the people that are raising the youngest generation. This woman, she calls her a wine mom. She's like this chubby lady on the street. And I think it's Caitlin Bennett that's out there doing the interview who seems pretty reasonable. I mean, she's inflammatory. She does this sort of provocative game, but she's not someone that should be shot. And to think that that's okay and say it out loud, we've crossed the line where people are willing to talk about it.
Finally, If you think this Zoran thing is happening just in New York, and you think people are waking up only in New York City, you're mistaken. Look at this clip of a wine mom at the No Kings March. Play the clip.
Whatever his name was?
Charlie Kirk, ma'am?
Yeah, him is horrible. Horrible.
Charlie Kirk is horrible?
Yes, I'm glad he's not here.
You're glad he's dead?
Yes.
Why would you say something like that, ma'am?
Because he was horrible on the campuses, the college campuses. Horrible person.
You know what? I do the exact same thing.
Well,
would you be glad if I would die?
Maybe. I'd have to think about it.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Be ashamed of yourself.
Your friend just said she'd be happy if I died.
I think we need to...
So listen up, Democratic establishment. You can either jump on board with this shit, or we're coming after you in the same way that we come after MAGA. Period. Stop taking AIPAC money. Go on an I'm sorry I took AIPAC money atonement tour if you want to stay in power. Stop missing out on these big rallies. Hakeem and Chuck should have been front and center introducing the next mayor of New York City. But no, they wouldn't show up because they're pussies. They're pussies that are beholden to the same corporations that helped Donald Trump get elected.
That's a hell of a take. It's a hell of a mouth. You think she kisses her mother with that mouth? That lady supposedly is a chef from Oklahoma. She's supposed to represent, I don't know, like regular American people. I don't know women that talk like that. I don't know moms that talk like that. I don't know moms that have skin that is pulled that tightly back on their face. She looks like a transgender person. I'll show you a transgender person just for funsies. That looks more feminine than that woman. There's another story that's been blasting through my timeline here as well, and I can't help but notice it. Someone called Leah Smith, which was a man, L-I-A again, not real Leah, not L-E-A-I, or L-E-H. Leah Smith was a student at the same school that this guy Ari went to, and Ari is a Media Matters consultant or something to that effect, and I follow just for sort of like amusement occasionally, and I get this sort of garbage. But for some reason, I'm getting blasted with the story of a transgender person who was kicked off a team because of the Trump administration's policy saying men are men, women are women, you can't share the same bathroom. This seems pretty reasonable. I've got 3 daughters. I'm 100% behind that. If I saw a dude going into the women's restroom while my wife, who's under 5 feet tall, decides to go in there with my babies, I'll go in there and drag him out by his freaking wig or his neck. I don't care. Like, that's what men need to be doing. In the meantime, we're getting this sort of like weird sympathy. Like, you're killing us. Anyway, that woman who was saying the nasty words and has a foul mouth looks less feminine. And I think there's something to it. They're trying to be something. They think that the secret magic of Joe Rogan is that he has an occasionally foul mouth and that he talks tough. The difference is Joe Rogan could probably kick you in the body and break your body, like snap your spine with a leg kick, because he's really, really masculine and he's very muscular and he's super fit and he's funny and he's clever and he's interested and he's curious and he's willing to hear other people's perspectives. Like, Joe Rogan's interesting because he represents like what we think we should be like when someone listens to someone that we don't agree with or someone that we do. That woman's just nasty. And again, less feminine than this man who is presenting himself as a woman and telling the sad, sad story of another man who was not accepted as a woman and therefore he took his own life, which is truly sad. But we're living in 2025 America. So as that woman was talking about AIPAC and all the other stuff, you also have to realize that that same party that's going to go out there and be real tough, they also want to represent like complete fantasies and illusions that don't exist. And we're not having it. I just think Americans are looking and going like, no, we're done with that thing. We're done pretending. You can't make us live in your fantasy land.
In late October, Middlebury College announced that Leah Smith, a 21-year-old trans woman, student, and competitive diver, had passed away. Leah was from Berkeley, California. She was a senior, double majoring in computer science and statistics, active in LGBTQ and campus clubs, known for being curious, funny, and kind. She loved music, history, and her cat, Edgar.
That was a young man who had a tragic end. In any case, I just wanted to show you the picture. I don't want to get into the story because the story is not particularly interesting. If you're just joining us and you guys are tuning in for the live show, thanks for joining us. Really excited to have you along. We have not done the big reveal yet, but it is coming. We're getting some worked up information. We're getting a steam head of information behind us. You're seeing the Hoover building there on the screen. If you are listening, if you're watching one of these programs where you've got the video closed, why don't you guys check out our friends over on Spotify? You guys will get a really good replay of this. You can share it very easily. KyleSerafinshow.com will take you right to Spotify. You don't even have to download the app. Joe Rogan's on that app too. If you pay for it, great, no big deal. We have like 1 or 2 ads that start at the show and 1 at the end of it, and that's what happens. Anyway, you can also join us over on Locals if you want to support what we're doing over here. It is independent, quote unquote, journalism and also entertainment. I'm trying to entertain and inform. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Rumble, if you're watching on X, like it, hit the share with somebody that you love, and go ahead and subscribe to the channel or subscribe to the account. That would be fantastic. Apparently, I've been unlocked over on X. I watched like 400 people start following the account in the last couple of days. So something has changed, either algorithmically or maybe somebody has pulled a block off, or maybe I'm just pissing off the right people and certain people are showing up. So we will be talking FBI stuff, the reveal of the FBI source who's giving me inside information. It was inevitable. It was going to come out. They were going to find it anyway. And we're going to go out there and tell you so the FBI's inspection division doesn't have to go out there and do a long-term investigation and interview a bunch of decent agents who didn't do anything wrong. Because it wasn't them. It was only one person. And it is a 7th floor source. So guys, hang into that. Let's do a quick read for one of our sponsors here. This is one of our friends over at the Patriot Protect. Guys, if you have not done something to shield yourself, yesterday I found an online influencer's home address and found out that she was using a fake name just because I'm good at this. If you want to hide your information in general and you don't want to be Googleable by a Kyle Seraphin type who's out there in the world who might have more nefarious intent than just finding out that you're a liar, oh, well, why don't you do something about it? Patriot-protect.com/KYLE. It is absolutely easy. It is scarily easy. We're coming up on Halloween, right? For criminals, scammers, for cyber threats to go out there and determine your personal information. They can pretend to be you, or they can represent that they are a real company when calling you. They can find your family members and do that. They can do things like virtual kidnapping. They can hack your accounts and so on and so forth. There's always a concern about data breaches, but your public information on data broker websites can be the scariest thing out there because people can find all kinds of wild stuff. Your home address, your phone number, your email address, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Get off these data broker websites. They are ubiquitous. And they make money on your information. And it costs like almost nothing for someone to get access to it. Sometimes it's totally free. And I used to use it on the job when I was in the FBI. Patriot-protect.com/KYLE. My name at checkout will save you 15% on an annual subscription. It's a couple bucks a month at the end of the day. It's less than $100 a year if my memory serves. We signed up for it. It was a fire and forget thing. And then I find myself getting less spammer calls. I have less garbage emails, and I have public listed emails and stuff like that. And I have a pretty high profile with like, I think about 350 or maybe 400,000 followers across platforms. It might even be worse than that. So if you guys want to keep yourself out of the pile and not get all kinds of garbage calls and all kinds of garbage scams, check out Patriot Protect. They're good folks. You guys, you've probably seen the CEO on here or the co-CEOs and founders. We've done some interviews about cybersecurity, and I appreciate him. He's a decent human being. We've also found out that when somebody had an issue with their service, it was corrected within less than 3 days, which is pretty good for a small company that's going out there and trying to solve problems. So had nothing but favorability on that. All right, is my chat back on here? Because it was gone for a little bit. You know what? I'm going to refresh the chat here. My dears, you guys have been... You've been chatting away, and what I saw is a weird sort of, there it is. Let's do a refresh. There it is. It's coming back. Things sometimes get wonky when we start talking about FBI stuff, so we're going to keep doing it. Let's talk about this story, which some of you may have seen, and I think it's truly important. I'm done with the sort of the random grab bag. Let's talk about this. Official access to FBI files in the Charlie Kirk case has drawn pushback, according to sources. This is a New York Times story. It was picked up by the Daily Mail yesterday. I talked about it with Alex Jones just a little bit. The story goes that Joe Kent, who leads the National Counterterrorism Center, was trying to get access to the Charlie Kirk files and see if they were in fact foreign terrorist actors. Now, I think the line that they are using is that Joe Kent, who's running this center, would like to be able to tie foreign money, foreign nation state actors, something to that effect, to the people that were the radicals and in the Discord channel with the Charlie Kirk shooter. I'm not going to get into the stories and the conspiracies and all the other stuff on there. At the end of the day, right now, I'm going to wait for the story to get played out in court because we don't have anywhere near the amount of information we would need to make good decisions. So for all you guys that are big Candace Owens fans, knock yourself out. For all you that are Ryan Matta guys and you want to just roll down the rabbit hole with those people and you want to just, I think it's obsessive and I think it's masturbatorial that people are basically, they're getting off on the idea that they're going to be able to solve a murder mystery case that they don't have access to. At all. They don't have access to the interviews. You don't have access to the evidence. You don't have the ballistics. You don't have the exam on the body. There's a lot of information that you're not going to be able to deal with. So Because of that, I don't want to play in the speculation game. I'll wait until the story is made, until the actual argument is made in court, which, by the way, they haven't even assessed the probable cause statement, which was used to arrest Tyler Robinson. Just so you know. But the outside of it is there's some additional sort of shenanigans going on the outside. And I think people have said, well, Kash Patel is covering up the Epstein files and some other things. This is an actual story that I have pretty good information from the inside is actually going on, that there is a fight. It's a territorial turf fight between who should be the primary agency and should you actually share information amongst government entities in the intel space. The FBI does have a significant amount of the people that work there that answer to ODNI. I've explained this to before with our friend George Hill. The FBI analytical cadre, they may get paid by the FBI, but they answer to, and their priorities are set out by ODNI, and that's Tulsi Gabbard's organization. So Joe Kent should be able to have some free information sharing. We would want that to be the case. You would expect that the director of the National Counterterrorism Center might be able to ask for some professional courtesy. Can we look across what you got? It's not a criminal case right now. The FBI may be investigating something, but as it stands, there is no criminal case at the federal level being charged by the FBI in the Charlie Kirk shooting. You guys realize that? It's 100% local and state. It's done out of the county in Utah. So if Joe Kent's trying to make an establishment on, and my guess is he's trying to find out, can we link an Antifa type organization? Can we call them a foreign terrorist organization? It opens up all kinds of wild tools. It opens up the ability to do FISA. It opens up the ability to do bigger surveillance. They can actually add some assets out there, including NSA. Can we task these people to be collected upon based on their foreign ties? But if you can't have access to the files and you can't have access to the Discord server channels and so on, then you're going to be in bad space. And so the story goes is that Joe Kent was involved in a very contentious meeting along with Tulsi Gabbard, who were arguing on behalf of ODNI, and Kash Patel, representing the FBI, said this is our vested interest. We're the lead agency and we're not going to share. And apparently JD Vance had to go and mediate this thing with Kash Patel screaming like a toddler. That's not the first time that I've heard that he scream cries when he gets upset and doesn't get his way. I had friends on phone calls that were involved in the Charlie Kirk investigation, and they said that Kash Patel was scream crying, their words, not mine, scream crying about whether or not he was going to get the first shot at tweeting out pictures of the subject, Tyler Robinson, when they were trying to find him in the middle of the manhunt. That seems problematic. But it's no more problematic than some of the other big things that we keep seeing. What we keep seeing over and over again is that this guy who's running the agency really is not up to the task. And he's proving it to us regularly. And I don't know why he wants to prove it, but he keeps doing it. So let me show you something that came out of late. This is the story of Arctic frost. For those of you who have not seen it yet, I'm going to maybe reveal it here for you. If you're watching over on Spotify, actually, let's do this real quick. Spotify, you guys may hear a Spotify ad right now. You may hear it. And so if you are on Spotify, very good. If you're listening on one of the audio platforms, then you won't be able to see this. And maybe Spotify is right for you because it allows you to switch between audio and video. All right. I want to show you Arctic frost. And some of this stuff is visually relevant. Look at the top line that you're seeing on the screen right now. Produced by FBI Director Kash Patel. It is on every single page of this document, which is 234 pages long. Are you trying to tell me that Kash Patel produced this discovery and did all of the redactions? Or is he doing what every other influencer type clown does on social media, where they throw a watermark across it and they want credit? They should have just put his X handle on there, since that's where he seems to spend most of his time. You know, this FBI has done this, and under your President Trump, the knob slobbery that we always call out here. It's really gross, and it's on every freaking page. I've never seen that done in government production. Never. So they watermarked it so that you would know that it's really Kash Patel as the one who's doing this reveal. And what did he reveal? Probably not what he thought he did, to be fair. I've gone through most of this document. There's all kinds of stuff that's very inflammatory to people. What I think is going on, though, is that people are missing, they're missing the forest. They're looking at all the individual trees. Let me give you Marsha, what's her name? Marsha Blackburn. She'll probably be she'll be the new governor there in Tennessee. She's very incensed because Verizon didn't fight a subpoena and they gave up her records. I'm going to tell you why all these people are making it about themselves. They're all fundraising. They're all going to have a nice little political moment. At the end of the day, they missed the bigger story. And just a news flash before we get to the end of it, the bigger story is the FBI, as it stands, is the problem, not this investigation. This was not a rogue case. And I'm going to make that argument to you in about 5 different points here after we play a couple of clips of these people doing their fundraising and catching their little media hit.
I'm one of those senators that did have their records revealed. Verizon is my wireless carrier, and Verizon never challenged, never moved to quash. They complied with the subpoena that went forward on our records. Now, Ted talked about the speech and debate clause. This is also a violation of our First Amendment and Fourth Amendment rights. It is a violation of the separation of powers. It is a violation of the Stored Communications Act. I am looking forward to bringing Jack Smith before us. I am looking forward to bringing the wireless companies before us and finding out exactly what happened. No citizen of the United States should ever be subject to treatment like this. I'm one of those senators.
Yeah, great. Okay, so no one should ever be treated that way. Is that correct? The problem is they are treated that way, and it's one of the whistleblower disclosures that I brought forward, folks. One of the things that I found problematic is that you've now asked who to do the investigation. Is it going to be Congress? Is the Congress going to go out and investigate and then what? Charge? They can't do that. They can make a referral. And who will they refer it back to? Oh, the same FBI that investigated them. This is like a physician heal thyself sort of moment. What you've asked is for the government to investigate the government, find culpability in the actions of the government, and then hold the government accountable. I'm going to give you a quick news flash from personal experience. That's not how this stuff works, guys. It just does not. When the government investigates the government, what they usually find out is that the government acted reasonably, lawfully, and therefore all you're going to have is hearings, and you're going to have some wailing and some crying and some gnashing of teeth. We can actually rewind a few weeks ago, and this is Senator Kennedy asking 10,000-year-old Senator, 91,000-year-old Senator Chuck Grassley, saying, "Hey, Chuck," and he says, "Am I still here? Like, am I what?" And he says, "Yeah, are we going to do something about this? Or is there a timeline? Are we going to straighten this out?" This is before this stuff came out. And I say this as someone who had the records subpoenaed. I say this as someone whose telco, whose emails were in fact subpoenaed by that FBI. The same FBI that you're seeing right there, about the same time, by the way. The craziest part for mine was Elon Musk and X Corporation fought that subpoena. And you know what happened? They lost. They lost. The FBI got my stuff. And then they appealed it, and they've had more favorable readings, and they're still fighting it, and it's an ongoing case, and it's in the District of DC, and it's in the circuits out there. Fine. At the end of the day, the FBI would have gotten what they wanted because the subpoena was lawfully issued. And as long as they follow process, they're going to get it. Then you can find out whether or not it's appropriate or whether or not there's some sort of laws that might govern holding on to this stuff. But they would have got what they wanted, one way or another. So Verizon contesting it, Verizon's just like, it's a waste of my money. Here's Senator Kennedy talking about, well, can we sue privately? You're going to privately sue FBI agents who are agents of the government doing things that are in fact legal? You guys are asking, how is this not a violation of the First Amendment? Because they did due process. They went through the thing you're allowed to do. There are certain things that we require a search warrant for, and there are other things that are just records and they are subpoenaed. And if you don't know this about the way that our justice system works, now's a great time to tune into civics because it's going to affect you at some point. It's going to affect you because people on this screen that you're seeing, whose names are redacted, they all still work at the FBI. That's the news flash. Every redacted name you see there are current FBI employees, and that's why they're redacted. The ones that they revealed, they no longer work there. So they're happy to tell you the names of the people that don't work there, but the people that do, that were all part of this, by the way, the supervisor, that's ground level stuff. The CDC, that's the Chief Division Counsel. That's the legal advisor who says what is in and out of bounds. That person said this was okay too. This is why the FBI is probably beyond saving. And it actually turns out that guys like Patel and Bongino, who are supposed to be in charge of it, they used to kind of know that. Here's Senator Kennedy asking, are we going to do anything? And the answer is, we'll decide later at some other time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
may I ask you a question?
If I can answer it, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you going to hold a separate hearing on your whistleblower account of the FBI investigation of 8 United States senators?
I think we need, my answer to your question is, I think we need to wait until we see what the FBI can report and whether it's necessary to have a hearing. Right now, I haven't ruled one out, but I haven't made a decision.
And what year do you think that will happen in?
I want the FBI to be a thorough investigation of it and report to us what information they can give us, and I don't know how long that'll take them.
I would like the FBI to investigate from the FBI, and then maybe we'll get produced by Director Patel. Maybe we'll get a documentary movie at some year, and I'll still be alive if I'm lucky. I'm just saying, it's crazy stuff. The outrage is theatrical. At least Chuck Grassley is like, I've been here forever. This always happens. At least he's not moved by it. Kennedy still does his acting routine. Marsha Blackburn is outraged. So's Ted Cruz. They're all very, very, very mad. They're so upset. They're so upset, but what are they going to do about it? They're going to vote for a continuing resolution that funds this agency again, aren't they? You guys want to take money on that? Anyone want to bet that we defund the FBI after this stuff? Or do you want to bet that the exact same people that did this work, who still work there, are going to go back to getting paid again by the same people that were violated? I'm willing to put some money on that. You guys sidebar me on this. We'll put some money. We'll put together. You guys see how many of you want to bet. We'll find somebody that wants to hold the money in escrow. I'll just tell you I'm going to take your money, so don't do it.
The Biden Justice Department signed off on issuing subpoenas for the phone records of at least 9 U.S. senators. 20% of the Republicans in the United States Senate were the target of this fishing expedition. They did so in complete contravention of the Constitution, of separation of powers, of the speech and debate clause, of free speech, of basic rights of privacy. This is an executive who believes it is justified spying on their opponents in the legislature because they convince themselves the ends justify the means.
Okay, maybe. Or maybe they followed all of the rules that were set forward for them. And this is where the real problem arises. We are getting to the disclosure. I promise you guys I will reveal it, but I do want to set this thing up properly and let you know why this is so problematic. This is an article on the screen right now from NPR. I love NPR because NPR thinks exactly the opposite of how I do. Attorney General Bill Barr issues new rules for politically sensitive investigations. You're like, wait a minute, the Attorney General is Pam Bondi right now. This is from February of 2020. This is at the end of Donald Trump's term when he had William Barr running the DOJ. He's issued new restrictions on opening investigations to politically sensitive individuals, also known as SIMs in the FBI. By the way, another SIM that I had some experience with and dealt with was the Project Veritas investigation. They were SIMs news media. This is SIMs political figure. SIMs special privileges go on. They lock them down internally so less people can read it. And they actually have a higher burden when it comes to getting approvals. You have to go above and you have to get lawyers to consent to it and agree that the things you want to do, the tactics and the techniques you're going to do in your investigation are in fact authorized. And they're authorized specifically taking into account the different sort of sensitivities, whether it be news media or academics or religious people, or in this case, politicians. It includes a requirement that he, Bill Barr, the AG, approve any inquiry into a presidential candidate or campaign. This was backlash to the Russiagate stuff, folks. What they did is they tried to put some policies in place. Now, I also want you to remember that we got the Durham report under Biden. And one of the things that was conclusive about the Durham report is that no policies, no procedures, no law, in fact, it sounds like, would actually stop the FBI from what they were doing when they went wrong in the Russiagate scandal. What it would do is require them to hire people that actually believed in the spirit of what they were doing. Okay? The Durham report said you cannot fix the problems with policy. Or to maybe quote someone like Dan Bongino, who maybe thinks that I'm the problem. Wait a minute. Did he think that I'm the problem? Hold on a second.
The place has taken a reputational hit. There is zero question about it. There were a lot of bad actors. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble.
Wait, I'm just asking a real quick question. Am I that person? Dan Bongino has been famously bad about naming me when I'm the bad guy for him. Am I the bad actor that they're talking about? Because if so, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm just really interested because I actually missed that. And one of our listeners pointed out, like, hey, are you the bad guy? Maybe so. Maybe I'm the troublemaker. Let me just keep making this trouble then. Bongino used to say that personnel is policy. Many people have said that. What does that mean? It means that the people that you bring in will find a way around whatever litigious things that you've done to cover things up if they want to get it done, because they know the system better than you. So your personnel and the types of personnel that you have does dictate your policy. Your policy is I hire these people and I give them the imprimatur to go forward and carry our banner and do the thing that we do. They represent our agency. If you've got bad representatives on the inside, you're the problem here. So Bill Barr tried to correct this with a 3-page memo basically saying you have to have AG approval to do politically sensitive investigations into a presidential candidate. All right, fine. Well, that was the goal. And now we're going to go back to the real issue here. We're going to go back in to Arctic Frost. Arctic Frost. This is the case opening. I'm going to share with you something that you may not understand. Here are some of the pages. We're going to scroll through it. There's a synopsis. Communication establishes the opening of a new 56 Delta case. 56 Delta was an election fraud or election interference case. It's the exact same title, 56 Delta, that they used on Project Veritas, which I famously disclosed, and it got myself, into hot water with the FBI, probably why they subpoenaed my records. I also thought what they were doing was illegal, and that's why I disclosed it. I also thought they weren't going to be able to defend themselves in court because it was secretly on the FBI's servers and it wasn't being disclosed in discovery, for whatever that's worth. The process is that that these are certified, they're created, they're signed, they're sent to the United States government for the purpose which they're intended. They're talking about their election voter results. So they're going to do election fraud investigations, but they're only going to do it based on finding out whether or not Americans did something wrong, and those Americans happen to be politicians. All right. Then you've got administrative notes per policy. This has to be approved at the SAC level, the SAC level, special agent in charge. That's kind of interesting. Due to a potential conflict of interest. Well, the conflict of interest is that the SAC was a guy named Wayne Jacobs, as I understand it, and his conflict of interest was his wife, who was on the January 6th committee. That's the way I understand that. You guys double check. The Heritage Foundation Oversight Project has been working on this. So they had the ADIC, which was Steve D'Antuono. He was famous for being in charge of the Detroit field office when they did the Whitmer thing. He was also in charge of the Washington field office when January 6th went down. He also, as far as I can tell, lied under oath about the pipe bomb. Steve D'Antuono was the approving official in lieu of a special agent in charge, which would have been the SAC of Criminal and Cyber Division. All right. Now we move forward. It says the enclosures. Here's what we've included. Here are the details. There's the caption piece of the case. Relevant facts, circumstances, and allegation. By the way, folks, most case openings are like a 1-page EC or electronic communication. They are very short. They don't have to be super detailed. They make the allegation or information that a federal crime took place and that the FBI has the jurisdiction to investigate it, and then they're going to go do so. I have never seen one that is so well laid out as this, but it makes sense because the deputy director actually signed off on it. Let me go to the top here. This is the top level of the FBI that you're seeing on the screen. Paul M. Abate was the number 2 guy in the Bureau, and he has the functionality of the number 1 for signing off. Below that is the executive assistant director. That's the person just below that runs the entire branch. The way the FBI is structured is you have the whole FBI, then you have branches, then below that you would have divisions. The divisions then have individual like sections and units and so on and so forth. In this case, you have the top of the FBI, you have the top of the branch, you have the top of the division, that's Jason Jones, you have the top of another division, then you have the top of the actual individual field office, which is also known as a division. You have 3 ADs. Those are all SES, senior executive. Then you go down and you have what's called another branch, which is inside the division. This is the branch 2 criminal supervisor, I believe, Timothy Tebow, who was removed for his anti-Trump hatred. And they replaced him with someone who still works for the FBI, by the way. Then you have the chief division counsel. Then you have the SSA, which is the supervisory level. And then you have the actual agents, which is probably these things up here that are all blacked out. And they all still work for it. Remember, blacked out equals still works there. I have no idea why they blacked out the number of the case, like that matters at all. All right, we're going to lay out this case for you. Facts, relevant circumstances, and allegations. They define the Electoral College. They talked about what fraudulent certificates are. There's a bunch of that. So this is all background information. This is very meticulously done. Public statements by Donald Trump and his campaign. You got Rudy Giuliani in here. You got John Eastman. You got Steve Bannon and his podcast. You've got all this stuff laid out as background information on and on. January 6th, what it was and what they allege. Some of these things are non-factual statements. They're just their opinion. And the FBI was really bad about their opinions. It goes on. It's still going. Okay. Federal violations that they're going to be considering. Here you go. 18 U.S.C. 1512C. That's the obstruction. That's what I was told that they were investigating me for. Quite interesting. Obstruction of certain proceedings is going to be 1505, 1519. 371 is conspiracy to defraud the United States. Aiding and abetting, go figure, mail fraud, seditious conspiracy. These are the things that they were going to potentially charge if they were able to prove their case as they wanted. There's a statement of predication and approvals required for the SIM full investigation. I've never seen this in there again, but here's another little section. Very litigious, incredibly well laid out. Produced by Kash Patel. Can't help it. All right. So in addition to the standard requirements for opening a SIM, there's also something they have to comply with. Oh, I remember I brought you up the Merrick Garland thing. Memorandum from the Attorney General dated February 5th, 2020. Now you see why I went back there. Additional requirements for the opening of certain sensitive investigations, AG memo, FBI policy notice, 1096 November. And so that was what they went. They complied with that. Remember, that means the Attorney General had to sign off on it. So not only did the top of the FBI sign off on it, we also find out that the Attorney General Merrick Garland signed off on it. This is the scandal. This is why this was legal. They followed every single rule to the T, and they were very meticulous in how they did this thing. Okay? So now they tell you who they got. Per FBI policy, they got Chief Division Counsel Review. That's the top attorney at Washington Field. Probably somebody I know, if we're being honest. The SAC approval, we already said there was a conflict of interest, so you got the what's called ADIC approval, or Assistant Director in Charge approval. Then you got Director's approval, which was given out in this case by the Deputy Director. You've got the AAG, the Associate Attorney General. You've got the United States Attorney in D.C., that was Matthew Graves, wrote with it. Written approval from the AG and the Deputy Attorney General, who actually wrote the approval. Every freaking level of the Justice Department signed off on this particular investigation. And that's not all, folks, because they also got approval from the National Archivists. They also got buy-in from the Postal Inspection Service. They claim what the venue is. It's going to be out of Washington, D.C., because even though it's across the country, we're going to have this. Again, here's your approval from Matthew Graves that I mentioned earlier. Scrolling down, sensitive other investigative matters. Here you go. National Archives is going to be part of this game. So everybody concurs. We're going to open a grand jury investigation. We're going to have access to it. The prosecuting attorney's on board. The top of the DOJ is on board. The top of the FBI is on board. The top of the field office is on board. The postal inspector is on board. The people who might be giving us relevant information from the National Archives is on board. All parts of the government, all the equities are accounted for, and they are all in approval of this. It is legal. This is not a rogue investigation. This is a totality of government effort to do the thing that you guys think should be wrong, and that you just heard senators crying about. So are they going to fund this government? Are they going to fund this agency that does this? You're damn right they are. They don't care. Who are the subjects? Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated. That was his campaign. John Eastman is an identification of subject. Rudy Giuliani is a subject. Boris Epstein, whatever. I don't know that one. Electors, 60 individuals from Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, and Wisconsin allegedly signing fraudulent certificates. They're all on the hook. And so are all those places. And so are all those Republican committees. And so are all those legislatures. They have an investigative plan, which is not always common. Usually that's an email to your boss. This is laid out, and it is very particular. Full identification of known subjects. They're going to find everybody, biographical particulars and locations, pertinent review of open source, and they're going to get videos relating to conspiracy to obstruct. They're going to go through social media, and they're going to find what's posted in all the interviews. So they're going to do that game. Coordination with the United States Attorney's Office in D.C. They're going to have grand jury subpoenas for records, including toll and bank records as appropriate. They laid out what they were going to do, and the AG said, yep, no problem. And they named people there that were at high levels of government, right? Got it. As such, records are identified. The issuance of preservation letters will be done. So they're going to send it out to social media companies and to different phone companies and so on. Preserve your records. We're going to come get them later. Electronic facilities. They're going to have orders and search warrants for relevant digital content. They're going to conduct witness interviews. Now, these are not outlandish things to do, but they're laying out exactly how they're going to go through it. And they're going to work through and with the United States Postal Inspection Service to locate and preserve evidence in any documents or records associated with registered mail sent from the archivist and the president of the Senate. That's the vice president. Conduct or attempt to conduct, they're going to conduct or attempt to conduct sensitive interviews with potential witnesses in this matter. Here are the approvals required, and they document that they are, in fact, they are done. We're on page 14 of this case, and we haven't gotten into substance of anything. There are no case documents except covering my ass and showing you that what we're doing is in accordance with all of the required policies, again, including that Barr memorandum from 2020. You guys get it? This was 100% above board, and everybody was on board with it. So there you go. On the 15th page, you have a blank page, and then we start document production. And guess what? The people who did it, they're redacted because they still work for the FBI. Drafted by, that's your case agent. SSA, that's your supervisor. That person approved it. Here you go. Statements from Jeff Clark. It goes on and on. This is full of redactions of anybody that actually works in the FBI. I'm just scrolling here. They don't want to tell you who was involved. Obtain this, not going to tell you. So they went in and dug up some things that were inflammatory to them and set them, and they were anger. Look, special agent blank. Why don't we tell? That's a public employee. That person works for us. Senior special agent blank of Perry's phone. Gave him to S.A. blank, not going to be named. S.A. blank, not going to be named. All people. You know who they do name right here? No longer works for the FBI, got fired because of my tweets, Walter Gardina. He no longer works for the FBI, so they're going to throw him out there. So they're only going to give you information that's already exposed by me. And that's why this reveal is going to be so important to you guys. I want you to understand 5 points that I put out on social media. They are relevant. They should be things that you understand. I would like you guys to hear all 5 of them. Number 1, the names redacted are current FBI employees to include supervisors, attorneys, and BRIC agents. Number 2, the top levels of DOJ, FBI, the United States Attorney's Office in D.C., Postal Inspection Service, and others concerned with opening this case all signed off on it. Former AG Barr issued guidance in 2020 to try to stop this kind of thing, and it did not work. They did not hold themselves accountable. They simply did what they were required to do, and they got the sign-offs. Number 4, this is not a single rogue, sensitive investigation targeting political opposition. It's an agency that is full of current management who would and did sign off on this and similar investigations, Project Veritas being an example of them. And lastly, Kash Patel is trying to take credit for this because he's so freaking thirsty that he put a watermark on there. This is a problem that is FBI culture-wide. It is not a problem of a specific agency or a sub part of the agency or a specific field office. Folks, this is the FBI. This is what the FBI does. This is a really well-written up case. Having read hundreds of cases, because that's what we did. We reviewed them before to see if there was predication when we would go do surveillance. Hey, do you guys have the information out there? Republicans are going to raise money on this. I'm just telling you. They're raising money on their own demise because they're going to turn around and fund this damn thing. They're 100% into it. Okay? So that's pretty exciting stuff. Let's get into why and what and the story of how the leak comes up. When I revealed that there was a radical traditionalist Catholic bend inside the FBI, when intel analysts were going out and writing documents, and it turned out that multiple field offices were involved, when we proved that and showed it to people, something crazy happened. They didn't go and say, holy crap, we are investigating Catholics for being Catholic and saying that they're potentially white supremacists. We got a real problem inside our agency. They didn't do that. What they said was, we've got someone who leaked a document and it went to Congress. It's freaking embarrassing, and Kyle Seraphin got a hold of it. We must stop that person. And so they took my friend and they got him out of the office. He'd been there for almost 30 years. He was an attorney. He was a senior manager at the FBI in that field office, and he was removed, and he had all of his stuff and all the things from his office and banker boxes unceremoniously thrown in his front yard, including his certificate saying 25 years of service. I think you get a 20-year service, and I think you get a 25 supplement. You guys know how sick that is? What they said is that the problem is you. It's not a problem that we're doing the wrong thing. It's a problem that you told people we are. And that's what I've been experiencing for a while now. So let's talk about this thing. This is the attitude of the FBI. It is not a joke, even though it is a meme. That's Don Draper, right? Mad Men. He's doing the pitch. Should I do the pitch? He's doing the pitch. Hear me out. Reform. But with the same guys. We're going to use the same people that work here, and we're going to fix the problem that these people created. We're going to take the people whose names are redacted from Arctic Frost, and we're going to let them stay here so they can keep doing Arctic Frost, but we're going to call it Reform, produced by Kash Patel. There's a reason why I have started thinking of Kash Patel as Tom Haverford from Parks and Recreation. I cannot help it, okay? I can't help it because once you see it, you're like, yeah, that guy's the same guy that goes, treat yourself. Sometimes you got to schmooze them. Sometimes you got to lie to tell the truth. Or like whatever catchphrase he has. Good cops got to be cops. And that's why Donald Trump's the best. Psh. Parks and Rec has actually become like pretty front of mind for me. And so before we decided to do this reveal, so we got about like a record audience over on YouTube right now, so that's fun. Before we did this reveal, I wanted to consult with someone who knew a lot about the FBI. Some of you know who this person is. I'm going to give you a little look at this because this was not something I came to lightly. Before I reveal it, let's just go ahead and remind people, you guys can find us on Spotify. Badoom, find us on Spotify. You may hear another Spotify ad right here. That will be a total of 2 in the middle of the program. Spotify ad. Find us at KyleSerafinshow.com if you guys want to be part of it. All right, hear me out. You ready? All right, this is who we consulted with because I wanted to make sure we made the right decision when it came to revealing this stuff. It's Burt Macklin.
All right, everybody move! Move, move, move! Wow. This entire event's under federal jurisdiction.
Unless he's in trouble, there's only one man for the job. Burt Macklin, FBI. You thought I was dead? So did the president's enemies.
The president's enemies still work at the FBI. That's why we need a Burt Macklin type, don't we? All right. So the reveal looks something like this. There are people who knew exactly what was going on. And the people that gave us the information that needed to be out there, they're concerned right now. This is the 7th floor. This is a drawing that Burt Macklin made of the guys that work on the 7th floor of the Hoover building. You can tell the eye thing is contagious. They're upset and they're concerned. They're worried. It's possible that more people will find out what is, in fact, going on there. All right. Who did it? Who gave me the info? Who shared with me what's going on with the FBI director's plane? Donald Trump's going to help me do the reveal. There it is. I don't want to make a big fanfare about this. I really don't. There it is. That's who showed me. That's my 7th floor source. You guys don't believe me? There he is. It's freaking Kash Patel. Kash Patel leaked this information. He told me who it was. I want you guys to know. We're coming clean. Director Patel, add this to your daily briefing. You're the reason that I know that you were in state college. It was you. It was you all along, right? It was Kash Patel, people. There's his Twitter feed. At Kash_Patel. What's the first thing? Kash Patel retweeted. Real American Freestyle Wrestling 002. And it's pictures of, I kid you not, him and the girlfriend. The girlfriend is singing. How did you know she was singing? Because you shared a picture of it, buddy. I follow you. Oh, how did you know that it was a Real American Freestyle Wrestling? Oh, because she was carrying the belt. Because you let her go backstage. Yay. And then you posted pictures yourselves. What are we talking about here? How did you not know this, man? It's so easy. And then the question comes up. Well, how did you know where he flew? Well, this is actually a little bit more concerning for you guys. You guys are going to get some inside info here, okay? I do want you to know how I knew that he was flying. I knew that he was flying because one of the things that I did while Kash Patel was helping me was get a message to Senator Josh Hawley in November of 2022. If you guys look at the first line here, I got your name and email from Kash Patel. And inside this email that I sent off to Josh Hawley's representative so that we could do a disclosure about a misuse of Director Wray in the jet was the tail number of the G550, that G5 airplane, right? The tail number is November 708 Juliet Hotel. That's public information now. And I shared it with a congressperson, and I've had it for 3 years. So how on earth did Kyle Seraphin manage to find out? Well, it turns out that they publicly post this stuff, man. And here's Josh Hawley talking about it at the time.
Last time you were here, you had to leave early to take a jet to your vacation in the Adirondacks. Now, let me just ask you this. A whistleblower tells us that you also maintain a home in Atlanta to which you fly on a regular basis. I'm told by this whistleblower from the FBI that you use the FBI jet to make that travel. Is that correct?
All of my travel, personal or work-related, is required to be done on FBI planes. That is longstanding policy, goes back well over a decade.
I'll take that as a yes. The whistleblower also says that you regularly require the jet, which is based in Manassas, to be flown to D.C. because, and I quote now, Wray doesn't like to sit in traffic. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate.
He also says that you pay only the lowest cost commercial ticket for that Atlanta to DC trip, which is, I don't know, what, $200 or something? When, of course, it costs $20,000, $30,000 to operate the jet. Is that correct?
The reimbursement that I provide is reimbursement that is set by OMB policy, and I follow that policy, which goes back over a decade, and I think has been chronicled in a GSA report from back in like 2013.
He's spot on. It is from 2013. Way to go, Chris Wray. He doesn't say that Congress mandates me to do this. By the way, that's what Kash Patel said a little bit later when he was the director. Here's Kash Patel 2 years ago. Brandon Dre holding the FBI to account. Hey, Chris Wray, how many millions of our money have you spent on the convenience of flying a private jet you don't own? Operational necessity does not require 140 30-mile trips so it can pick you up because you don't like traffic. Did Kash Patel know what I was talking about? You damn right he did. He quoted the article that I helped contribute to with Brandon Dre at the Daily Wire. This goes back 2 years ago. That's January 2023. Chris Wray lying to Congress, jetting off on taxpayer dollars while dodging accountability for the implosion of the FBI on his watch. Kash, you're the source, buddy. You're the freaking source. I'm going to blow your mind. I know the jet number. So do like dozens and dozens of others, including reporters all over the place. The source is, it's public information. This is the FlightAware website. Did you know that? There's your tail number right there that we own. It's also known as Jenna 708 for those of you who are curious. It turns out Thursday morning, that jet is in San Antonio, Texas right now. Did you fly out here to hang out with me? I hope not. I hope you're not coming to bother Kyle Seraphin and the Kyle Seraphin Show. Because, by the way, San Antonio, folks, is where the field office is that governs the area that I live. Go figure. Here we go. Past flights. This is really fun. Okay? Let's go down to here. From Pennsylvania to HEF, that's Manassas Regional. Manassas Regional is where it was on Saturday morning, and it flew to, State College Regional Airport. There you go. That's a tiny little airport. Then from State College, it flew directly to Nashville. You guys can see it right here. From Nashville, it flew to San Angelo. So it was obviously work-related. Okay, San Angelo, it flew to Joint Base Andrews, dropped him off. Joint Base Andrews flew back to Manassas Regional. Oh, that's why they did that. The claim that they made, and the reason that the FBI claims that they had to go and fly to other places like DCA and why they had to fly to Manassas Regional was really, really silly. They said that there are covert facilities out there at the Manassas Regional Airport. Are you shitting me? It's public information that you fly to the Manassas Regional Airport. What are you talking about? You actually list it on a website that you are required to give because the FAA data is publicly available. And from Manassas Regional, it turns out they actually were able to fly to San Antonio. Was the director on that one? Okay. On Wednesday, it was at Manassas, which is where it lives. And then Wednesday afternoon, boop, turns around and flies out to San Antonio, which is where it is right now, apparently. And it looks like it may be en route again. Is that what it's doing? No, as of today, it's still sitting there, it sounds like. No, it is en route. There it is. Look, it says it en route right there. The plane is flying today. Okay? Our plane, our $60 million aircraft that we own. Are you guys tracking who the source was? It's almost like it was publicly available and the information was always there. It's almost like they did a whole article at the event that you attended. Real American Freestyle Wrestling did this. Real American Freestyle Talks Weekly Series 2026. They might do it all the time. When was this written? October 27th. That was days ago. I'm going to just roll down here because it's amazing. When you read a news story, which is what I do for a living now, I read news and I find out what's going on. I found out that Real American Freestyle number 3 is booked for November 29th at the Wintrust Arena in Oklahoma and in Oklahoma City. Sorry, in Chicago and Oklahoma City is a strong contender for number 4. You're going to have various different MMA icons previously having competed in the first event. Former FBI Director Kash Patel was also seen ring-tied at number 2. Let me put it in the middle of the screen. Guys, the news media who cover fights picked it up. This is public information. And maybe that's why when you go and you look right now, this is what the Google search results are. If you type in Kash Jet girlfriend. Oh, the story got picked up. It wasn't just me, although I was a big piece of it. There it is. Kash Patel slammed for using $60 million jet to watch girlfriend perform. Kash Patel flew $60 million FBI jet to attend girlfriend performance. Outrage grows. Kash Patel scrambled government jet to watch girlfriend sing at wrestling bout. Report says. That report, I think, is me. Who is this girl? Who's the other source? The other source, it turns out, is it's Alexis. I showed you guys the other day. She put it on her freaking public Instagram. Who is Alexis anyway? I found a really good synopsis. You guys are going to enjoy this.
My beautiful girlfriend Alexis is here. Yes, I agree.
She stood beside Kash Patel as he placed his hand on the Bhagavad Gita and took oath as the director of the FBI. Here's what we know about her. Life's in bright stars. According to the Daily Mail, Alexis Wilkins first met Patel, 18 years her senior, at a conservative Reawaken America event in October 2022. They started dating a few months later, in January 2023, Wilkins, a country singer, was born and mostly raised in the US, but spent a part of her childhood in England and Switzerland. She said she wrote her first song as a child to help raise money for those affected by coal fires in Pennsylvania. She has been the opening act for prominent country artists, including Lee Greenwood, Sarah Evans, Joe Nichols, and Aaron Lewis. Some of her notable songs include Country Back, Quite Like Whiskey, and Old Fashioned Christmas. And she has over 14,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. When people wore the good hats for the ballet. Beyond music, Wilkins frequently creates videos for PragerU, a non-profit media organization that advocates for conservative viewpoints. She also delivered speeches for Young America's Foundation, a conservative youth group. Additionally, she hosts the political podcast Between the Headlines on Rumble. In 2025, she accepted the role of a press secretary for Republican Representative Abraham Hamadeh.
Some of you are wondering why I let that run so long, but it's because I really like the charming Indian voice of the lady reading it, including the thing that Bhagavad, whatever the heck that thing is, that he put his hand on to swear allegiance to. So that was really cool. Yeah, that's the source. Here it is. Do you know how I knew you were in State College, homie? Because a picture from your girlfriend, who I follow, because she's suing me, claiming she's not a public figure, when you just heard all the public figure things that she does, said she was at Penn State and posted a picture of you in matching blammo camo. So there you go. FBI, please close your inspection division link or a leak investigation. Don't waste any more of our money. We don't need it. You're already wasting plenty of it. It'd be great if you didn't do any more. We don't need a Hoover building thing going on right now from inspection division. Do you guys want to know the last piece of corruption? I know you do. Here. The last piece of corruption is actually freaking shocking. This just came into me before we went live. Talking about Arctic frost. Brian Turner was the executive assistant director. Should we put that back on the screen? Let me do it on the screen here. We're quarterbacking this in real time, folks, so stand by. Brian Turner is this guy, okay? He's at the top of the screen here. He's the executive assistant director that would have been in. Here he is. I'm going to highlight the name. Okay, Brian Turner was directly mixed in here, approved all of this. He was the one that was just below the deputy director of the entire FBI signing off on it. His special assistant was a guy named Bill Delbagno, Delbagno, I think. Bill Delbagno still works for the FBI. So Brian Turner, gone. Bill Delbagno still works there. He also went along with this, didn't blow the whistle when they were doing these things, was totally complicit. Do you know that the inspection division is the one that was looking into the leak, apparently, into me? And how I got this information from the public sources that I found it? Do you want to know who the assistant director is of the inspection division? It's Bill Delbagno. Bill, why didn't you blow the whistle on Arctic frost now that you guys are producing it out there? Why are you agreeing to do inspection investigations into leaks when it's publicly available information on a public website because your freaking director is lazy and has bad OPSEC and his girlfriend posts stuff on Instagram? Why are you wasting our money, Bubba? Where you been? Ain't that something? This FBI, same as the last FBI, there is no difference. They are the same FBI. They are one and the same. And that's why when you see emails that look like this, everybody is redacted because all these people freaking still work there. Look at this one too. All the email addresses are all redacted except Walter Gardina. Why? Because we're happy to throw him under the bus. He doesn't work there anymore. They fired him, probably illegally for whatever it's worth. We don't need to get into the details of this. We need to look broader. I don't care about trees. I care about the forest. The forest is a rotted government agency that did everything by the book and went out there. There's another one. Went out there and did exactly what you would hope a secret police would not eventually do. But they do, because that's how they're built. This was full. And by the way, looking on the screen, WF is Washington Field, AT Atlanta, DE, that's Denver Division, PG, Pittsburgh, PH, Philadelphia. AQ, Albuquerque Division. You guys get this? Every office was involved in all this stuff. All of these people were copied on emails. It's so easy to see it. There's some other ones out there. SE was Seattle. I saw that earlier on. We're talking about a predicated investigation that involved the entire FBI. Oh, you know what this is? Office of the Inspector General was copied on it. OIG was there. So you had people out of headquarters. You had people out of all the field offices, CID. Criminal Investigation Division? Cool. I wonder if they had CTD on there as well. The fact is that this was approved by everybody who saw it, and nobody went out there and did anything to stop it. Because that's what this agency does. Produced by Kash Patel. Oh, there's another. There's an SOS. That's an analytical personnel. Also redacted. Also still works there. I think you guys get the point. The point is that this agency hasn't changed. There's nothing different about it. And when I have to go out there and reveal that my source is the director of the FBI, it's you, bub. Donald Trump knows it. You leaked your own information. And now you're going to go and do an investigation internally and waste our money? What? Because of bad press? Because you're dumb and you don't understand how optics work? And you're going to fight with Joe Kent? You're going to fight with Joe Kent over what? Doing his freaking job? Andrew Bailey's ready. He's already there, folks. He got signed in there on September the 8th, as we understand it, and he's been very, very quiet. Let's give the man a chance to work. I don't think the agency can be saved, but it could. You could ruin the current path and trajectory, try to obliterate that, and go back to what we said we were going to do, which was fix a politically toxic and ugly organization. So, Director Bailey, when you step in and sign in, when you're the acting director, give me a call. You guys know how to reach me. You follow me on X. You can DM me over there. I'll send you my number. I'm not trying to be cocky. I will put you in touch with people who know how to do it. I don't know how to do everything. I certainly don't, but I can put you in touch with people that have the same mission that you probably do, who want to see not this, not everybody saying yes. And it's going to start with gutting your middle management. And all your senior management's got to go. All of them, because they were all hired under Wray and Comey and Mueller. That's who came there. Your analytical core needs to go over to Tulsi Gabbard. These were all laid out to Kash Patel. This is not shocking. This should be pretty easy for you. And that's what I have to say for the day. I hope you guys feel like we revealed it properly. And I hope you understand that hypocrisy everywhere bothers me all the time. And I will never sit quietly on it. I do not accept it. It is unacceptable. And if you want to follow an FBI director jet that we all pay for because your tax dollars are part of it, knock yourself out. Here you go. November 708, Juliet Hotel. It is public record. It is open source. It does not require a leak. It doesn't require an FBI investigation. It doesn't even require like a trained investigation. I just told you, FlightAware is a good one to do it with. So there's that. Let's have some fun. Can we have some fun? I think we can. For the people that are about to lose SNAP benefits, I'm going to just say this was the most convincing argument that I've heard yet. And then we're going to go into a palate cleanse. And I think I'm going to take the day off tomorrow because I've got little kids that are going to be very excited about Halloween. And I think I've exhausted the ability to hit all the high topics today. I don't think we can do more than that. So let me give you SNAP benefits. For those of you that are looking at losing benefits, this is the most convincing argument that I've heard. I've heard sympathy. I've heard not sympathy. I've heard hatred. I've heard things. This guy seems like he gets it. And it's really, really short. You should be able to remember it. He says it 3 times.
You were supposed to be looking for a job while you had benefits. You were supposed to be looking for a job while you had benefits. You were supposed to be looking for a job while you have benefits. You were supposed to be looking for a job while you had benefits. You were supposed to be looking for a job while you had benefits. You were supposed to be looking for a job while you have benefits.
There it is. Okay, you get it. All right, like the show, please. I'd appreciate it. Subscribe if you're a first-time listener. If you haven't been here before, we have a lot of fun, and we, we're kind of sarcastic. So that may be your brand of news. Rumble, YouTube, X, all easy. Locals, I always post all the links and all the descriptions. I always put in the show description under the comment section. You will be able to find all my references. You can always refer to anything that I read, and including the entire document that came out there. Make sure you guys are liking it again because it does move us up in the leaderboard, especially on Rumble. And wouldn't it be interesting if the deputy director of the FBI's website was actually out there promoting this dramatic leak of FBI material? Should we do something fun? One of the things we always do here, if you're new, we like to shut it down with a little bit of a smile, something that makes us all laugh just a bit. This is some real weird, sick humor, but my wife and I were giggling in bed the other night, and I showed her this. This caused her to like have to make audible laughing. So when someone laughs out loud, that's a winner for me. This is the kind of brand of weirdness that I think is great.
My girlfriend wants to get a bird. Yeah, and not just any bird, a parrot.
So she's really set on this, huh?
Yeah, she's set on it. Nothing I can do about it.
Well, if you can't stop it, destroy it.
The parrot?
The parrot owning experience.
What do you mean?
You'll pretend to adore the parrot. Offer to watch it every time she's busy. Guarantee some alone time with it.
Alone with it? I don't even want her to get it.
During which you'll meticulously train this bird to say 4 phrases, and 4 phrases only. I miss my hands.
Oh.
Never gamble with a witch.
Bro.
Please, help me lift this curse, I beg.
Bro.
I just want to hold my kids again. And I venture to guess, she won't want to keep that parrot for very long.
Damn.
I can't imagine why.
Or just like communicate with your partner like an adult.
That guy sounds like my little brother.
Is that a fork? You eating cereal with a fork?
I hope you guys have an outstanding weekend. Have a fun and safe Halloween. Go to church on Saturday, maybe. Do the All Saints thing. That's a good idea. Take care of your kids and let them have some fun. God bless you. Thanks for being part of our fun reveal. I hope that was illuminating. I hope that the logic was easy to follow. I look forward to seeing you guys on the other end. By the way, we crashed the Rumble chat. Shocker. Something didn't work over there. We'll have a good weekend. I'll see you guys on the other side of it.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.